Chase Elliott has won the Cup Series Most Popular Driver award 5 years in a row. Despite his popularity, he's not as outspoken as some other drivers. He and his Hendrick Motorsports teammates like to let their work on the racetrack do all the talking. However, in the last year, the 27-year-old has been more vocal, and it's all been inspired by the next-gen car. While he's just as frustrated as most drivers with the car's inability to pass and has spoken to those frustrations multiple times, the 2020 champion has also been critical of NASCAR regarding safety issues. This weekend at Dover, the HMS driver revisited last week's crash between his teammate Kyle Larson and Ryan Preece at Talladega, and what he had to say was concerning. Chase Elliott has been a top storyline this year, not for his racing, but his snowboarding accident that sidelined him for 6 races. Upon his return earlier this month at Martinsville, the driver addressed all the questions after the race about his body and how he felt following a lengthy absence. He also answered a question from SiriusXM NASCAR radio reporter Claire B. Lang, who inquired about his thoughts on the aero package and the overall race.
So, happy for HMS and Chevrolet. But yeah, you just never know until you start the race and get going, and really hard to pass. These cars are just so frustrating at times, I guess would be the best way to put it, and just hard to be different. And when you can't be different, it's going to be hard to drive around somebody.
There were multiple times in 2022 that Elliott said something critical about the next-gen car and being a challenge to pass. But he didn't stop there. Later in the year, his criticism of the car focused on safety issues, and the first time he publicly discussed the subject was a couple of days after suffering a blown tire and his car catching on fire at Texas, when he responded to a tweet from Trackhouse Racing co-owner Justin Marks, who said perfecting performance and safety is a process. With the experience and knowledge gained since 1948 and the technology we have in 2022, we should never take steps backward in any area with a new design, Elliott tweeted. The next weekend at Talladega, and a few days after Alex Bowman was ruled out after sustaining a concussion at Texas from an innocuous-looking rear impact, Elliott was asked what the drivers were thinking with a second driver now out due to concussion.
I don't feel like we should have ever been in this position to begin with to need to go forward. We should have gone forward with a new opportunity at a new car, in my opinion. I mean, you have all these years of experience and knowledge and time of racing and crashing these cars and teams working on them and building them, and it just blows me away that we can have something new in 2022 that offers all this technology and all this time and experience of so many just super talented people in this sport, and we allow it to go backwards. Especially with safety, I just think it's just super surprising to me, that we allow that to happen, but we did, and now it's just about how do we go forward from here, making sure we're making the right choices to improve what we have. And keep things like, what happened to Alex this week from happening, and what happened to Kurt, those things.
This offseason, NASCAR addressed the rear clip of the car to make it crumple easier. There haven't been any reported issues involving rear impacts in 2023. While a step in the right direction, what happened last weekend at Talladega in the violent crash between Elliott's teammate Kyle Larson and Ryan Preece exposed other vulnerable areas still remain, namely the passenger side door and the front of the cars. Elliott was asked about last weekend's scary crash this weekend before the race at Dover, and he didn't sugarcoat what was on his mind.
Yeah, I think it's not great, right? At the end of the day, you look at that thing. I haven't seen it in person. We tested Loudon this week. I wasn't at the shop on Monday, but from what I've heard and the pictures that I've seen, certainly a bit concerning on a multitude of levels. So I'm disappointed in that. Personally, last year it was like, well, we're not the softer hits were a problem, but that's in preparation for a bigger hit being covered. And from the data that I heard, he was only doing 130. So what happens if he's doing 180 or 160? So yeah, I definitely think that's concerning, but I also think probably more of a conversation on how to move forward outside of this room, and we'll get it better where we can be productive on it and not just sit here and run my mouth.
While interesting to hear how Elliott views his remarks as running his mouth, the content of what he had to say was eye-opening. For starters, he admits he's disappointed, but then interestingly brings up what sounds like how NASCAR sold the drivers on the idea that the problematic softer hits were just an unfortunate byproduct of the new car design and its greater mission of protecting the drivers during the bigger hits. Almost a you have to take the good with the bad mindset. An interesting perspective for sure. But then Elliott throws out speeds and how Preece was reportedly traveling 130 miles per hour at the time of impact, and how it did that much damage to the number 5 car before surprisingly and uncomfortably asking what if he was going faster. When the sport's most popular driver is publicly admitting to continued concerns about his safety and that of his fellow competitors, including theorizing on accidents, it's serious. You have to hope that NASCAR officials are really listening to what he and the other drivers have to say and not discounting it as running their mouths. And most importantly, are devising plans to address these issues sooner rather than later.